wanted to share with y'all a project that I've been working on and I'm really excited about. Tanya and I are most of the time, we're camping in state parks and national parks, and we have hookups and we're able to plug our camper into their power there and their water and sometimes their sewer if we do have full hookups, but it kind of has limited our travels. And we also wanted to be able to boondock and explore a little bit more, for us to have places to where we can go, to where we can experience the great outdoors in more of a subdued or private setting, to where we're not bound to having hookups at a campground. And we currently are using an inverter generator, which we've made videos for before. We'll put a link to that generator below if you're interested in watching that video as well. One thing about a generator is, of course, you need gas. It's loud. Some places that you do go, you're limited to hours, to where you have quiet times where you're not able to use a generator. A lot of times Tanya and I are traveling and we would like to pull over on the side of the road and spend a night somewhere in transit of our destination, from going from one place to the next, which is one of the bonuses of having a travel trailer. So it's nice to be able to pull over, and of course, in Texas, air conditioning is a must, and that's been the biggest issue, is being able to have enough power via generator or hookups at a campground to be able to use your AC. The current camper that we have, which is the Grand Design 22 MLE, it's a 2024. We love it. It's been great. One of the things nice about it is when we bought it, it's pre-wired for an inverter. So it's a very basic setup, to where they give you some breakers in the breaker box and they pre-run some 30 amp or some 10 gauge Romex to the front of the cable, where you would be able to mount your inverter and then have it set up to the breaker panel. One thing about this setup is, if you were to do that, you would need, depending on how big of an inverter you wanted to run, most small inverters are about 2,000 watts, which does not enable you to run your air conditioner unless you possibly have a soft start. But the biggest issue is batteries. You would need several lithium batteries. You would need the inverter. 3,000 watts, I would say, would be the minimum to be able to run your air conditioner. The other thing is all of the expense to buy all these solar panels to mount on your roof, to buy the inverter, to buy the charge controller, to buy the batteries, to have somebody install it all, the wiring. It was really kind of overwhelming for me. I've always been intrigued in watching some of the other videos of other people that have done this. The expense can be up to $10,000 or more just to be able to have a basic system that would be able to run an air conditioner, which was our biggest concern. A while back, Tanya bought me a small Jackery inverter power station, or some people call it a solar generator, and it's been really great. It's the 1,000-watt inverter. It's been really cool, but it's not quite where I wanted to be as far as trying to integrate it into our camper to have our off-grid experience. So I wanted to share with y'all what we did get and the installation that I've done, and why I chose to go this route. For one, like I said earlier, we're not always boondocking. That's not what we will be doing. Some more now. So it'd be nice to be able to have a system that I can easily remove. One thing good about this system is, when we're not boondocking, we can keep it at home and we can use it for a power outage situation, to where if we did lose power, we would be able to use this to plug into our panel, or just put into the house and use it to run a small window unit, or use it to run some appliances like refrigerators to keep our internet going and that type of thing. So it's kind of a universal system, to where it's not just tied into your camper all the time. Also, the weight of having all of those batteries and all of that thing in your camper when you really don't need to use it all the time, and the amount of space that it takes up in your storage, can also be an issue. So just wanted to share with y'all what we've done so far and how it's working for me. It's kind of a work in progress. I'm still experimenting with things, but so far I've been really happy with it, and I really think it's going to work well for what we want to do. So let me show you how all this works. This is the unit that we decided to go with. It's a Jackery Explorer 2000 Plus. One of the main reasons that we decided to go with this one is it does have the 30 amp plug, just like you would use at the campground, and we could plug our camper directly into that. It also has 4 120 volt outlets. It has your USBs and your USB-C outlets as well. And it also has a 12 volt cigarette lighter type plug. If I turn the power on, it has a really good display. It shows you your input power, your output power. We're currently 100% charged. It also has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capability, which links to your phone, which works really well. The other reason that I decided to go with this setup was because it's expandable. So you can expand it with additional batteries. Believe it or not, even though this is called the 2000 Plus, it has a maximum output of 3000 watts and a 6000 watt surge peak. It's really great considering that most basic inverter systems are, 2 to 3000 watts, but that 6000 watt surge capacity when you're trying to run an air conditioner really comes in handy. It does have the lithium ion technology on the batteries. It's got 4,000 cycles up to 70% capacity. So it's really a great unit. And I wanted to kind of walk around it and show you some of the features. It has a suitcase style handle and the wheels. So it makes it very easy to move around. And when you put this thing down and you fold the handle up, the wheels actually free spin, as you can see. And it's got these really nice rubber feet on it. So it really doesn't move very easily. It's very solid. So, when it's on the floor in our camper in travel, I really don't have to worry about moving around too much. Here's your input right here. Basically, here's an AC expansion port. Here's an AC reset. This is where you would plug your AC input. It's a 15 amp watt max to charge it AC or 120 volt. And here's your two DC inputs, which would be your solar or your DC charger for your car, cigarette lighter style charger. On this side, it's got the DC expansion port. This is what really makes this unit nice, because you can plug it into additional batteries to expand the capacity to even more. It's also got these ventilation vents in it. It does have a fan. When you're charging it, the fan does kick on, and it's kind of a variable speed fan. So depending on what rate it's charging, it will speed up. It's still pretty quiet though. This is an AC reset, kind of like a breaker if you need to use that. We currently have two 200 watt foldable panels, so that gives us 400 watts of solar. If you have sufficient sunshine and not too much shade or not too much clouds, you can charge this thing pretty quick. It also maintains the battery while you're using it. So that's another good feature as well. I do have all of the cables laid out that we have. And one thing I can say about Jackery is their cables are extreme high quality, very premium. They're very flexible, very heavy gauge, as you can see. So basically what we have here is your standard 120 volt cable. This is really nice because it doesn't have a brick on it. You can just plug it directly into the unit. These are the jumper cables, which are actually massive, and this is what jumps the expansion batteries to the main unit. These are the charge cables for the solar panels, which I'll show you here shortly. These are not very long, so I did purchase the additional 35-foot cables off of Amazon. These are actually an off-brand, but they're still orange. You can plug this cable into the solar panel. So we have 35 feet and then approximately 10 feet for each solar panel. There's also a 12 volt charger cable, like a cigarette style, which you can use I haven't tried this yet, but it's really slow if you're charging it in your vehicle while you're driving. If you have to charge it that way, you do have that option. This is the cable that I made. It's just your standard 30 amp cable that plugs into the Jackery. And I put my own twist lock end on here so that I can tie it into the camper, which I'll show you shortly. We did purchase the additional expansion battery packs. These are basically just a standalone battery. Doesn't have all the display on it that the main unit does. So they do work completely independently. You can independently turn them on, and you can plug and charge them independently as well. Of course, they do stack on top of the main unit, as you can see. They do have the connection ports where you can link it into the other one. So let me show you how that works. Two jumper cables here. And we'll bring them over to the back of the unit. Everything's labeled so you can't hook up anything backwards. We're going to plug the A into the A on the main unit, and that's going to go into your B port on the next battery. Of course, like I said, this only goes one way. We're going to plug the A into the A, and then that's going to jump up here to the B. And you are able to just keep on stacking these. This is what we've started out with, and it's been working out great so far. What I've decided to do is put our Jackery underneath our bed here. It's a great space. As you can see, it easily lifts up. Our trailer came pre-wired for an inverter from Grand Design. It basically had a number 10 gauge Romex wire. It was a loop that came to this location right here under the bed through the floor. So it made installing this very simple. I have a 30 amp twist lock plug for the generator. I also installed a 20 amp dedicated circuit to charge the Jackery with shore power. As you can see here, what we have is our 30 amp twist lock and then a 20 amp plug to charge. This is one of my old 30 amp cords that was damaged, so I was able to take this end and use it, and then I got a 30 amp twist lock plug that I was able to connect to this cable, and that's what twist locks into here. So that's nice and safe. It's a nice safe plug, 30 amp twist lock. And of course this end plugs into the Jackery in the 30 amp plug, just like you would at the campsite at the pedestal. And I've temporarily cut me a hole right here where my solar cables can pass through into the storage underneath and then pop out underneath the trailer so that we can plug our solar panels into the Jackery and not have to run them out a window or a door. So that's kind of my temporary hole there. I'll show you that later. So our solar panels can pass through into the outside storage. Here's our current setup. Basically, here is the main unit. The main unit is plugged into that twist lock plug. I also have that separate 120 volt outlet for AC charging. It's a dedicated circuit with its own breaker. There's a 30 amp plug. It comes around through here, and there it is plugged in to the unit. Then we have our other two battery expansion packs that are plugged into the unit. As you can see, there's the cables in the back. The only thing I really wish is that these cables were 90-degree cables to where I could actually push these things up against a wall a little bit easier to where they didn't stick out as far, but that's okay. I can't complain. So here's the unit. Now, in order to make this work, they're sharing the same breaker, the same 30 amp breaker, the main breaker. So you can't have shore power or a generator and the inverter or the Jackery plugged in at the same time. So what I had to do on that is install a transfer switch, which is located right here under the dining room. It's really simple. Basically, the 120 volt coming in or the shore power defaults, and when this thing senses that the shore power is not plugged in, it automatically switches over to your inverter or your generator. So basically you have a main coming in from the breaker, and then you have one going to the shore power and one going to the Jackery or a generator, and that's what a transfer switch is for. So that's really where the magic happens here. And you would need this if you were running a generator or you're running an inverter by itself with batteries. Either way, you would have to have this, because you can't have two AC inputs plugged into the same breaker, because it could either blow up your Jackery or blow up the shore power box. So, you know, that's how I've got around this, and this was really simple. And this is the one that I went with. I got it on Amazon. It's a TS transfer switch for 30 amps. And that's how this is all working. I wanted to show you all the modifications that I had to make in order to make this system work. The main breaker, which is the 30 amp breaker, which is the shore power coming in, is the one that I had to split on the transfer switch to where either we're using shore power or the Jackery, and the transfer switch switches the power back and forth appropriately. So this 30 amp breaker here is the 30 amp breaker that's coming in from the generator inlet that I installed under the bed. And then we have some other breakers here. Normally, the way that this is set up is you're not going to be able to run your microwave or your converter when you're hooked up to a generator. But I wanted to be able to have that feature. So what Grand Designs does is they split this breaker panel in half to where certain breakers work on the inverter circuit and certain breakers work on the shore power circuit. So what I did is I moved the microwave and the converter circuit up here to the top half. I also had to relocate the air conditioning breaker. This is the converter breaker that I relocated, which is a 15 amp breaker. And this is the 20 amp breaker that I actually added because I wanted to be able to charge the Jackery on shore power. So that's that 20 amp plug that I installed underneath the bed as well. That's what controls that. One of the options that I have on this setup is I can turn the converter off, because we do have a solar panel on the roof that charges the battery. So if we're boondocking, there's no sense in having your converter turned on to where your Jackery is actually powering the converter. I do have that option to turn it on if I want, but for the most part, the sun keeps the battery charged, which is also running our refrigerator and our lights, of course, and all that. This circuit here is the 20 amp plug that I installed that's under the bed as well, that enables me to charge the Jackery shore power without having to run an extension cord through a window or through the doors. So that's how all this is working. This 30 amp general breaker right here, which is the shore power breaker, is what's coming into the transfer switch. So that circuit gets switched back and forth automatically by this transfer switch. Remember, if you're plugged into shore power, this transfer switch defaults to that. But if you unplug the shore power, then it within a few seconds it switches over to a generator circuit, or of course the Jackery circuit. So that's how I got all this to work. And so what I'm going to do is demonstrate that right now. If we turn the Jackery on and we turn the AC power on, right now we have shore power, so this thing is not working. But I'm going to walk outside. Disconnect our shore power, and if I can get in here quick enough, you will hear the transfer switch click. There it went. So now we're running on the Jackery. And the first thing I'm going to do is come over here and turn the air conditioner on. That's high. Cool. Let's go ahead and crank it down a bit. As you can see right now, we're pulling 1391 watts. And with this current setting, it'll run 4.4 hours. So it calculates that. Now, the good thing about the air conditioner is when the compressor kicks off, it doesn't pull that much power. So your runtime actually extends more. If you had your solar panels plugged in on this side, this would even give you more runtime because the solar panels help keep it going. And it does show that we have our 2 expansion packs plugged in as well. Over here you can see them, they're both at 100% and the main unit is at 99. These batteries all connect together, so it just becomes one big battery. It doesn't use one at a time. They all kind of use up their power at the same time. Another thing I wanted to do on this system is I wanted to keep my 12 volts separate. So when you're boondocking, you can turn your converter off and not use the Jackery to charge the converter, which is really the standard practice when you're using an inverter. You don't want to charge your battery with your Jackery. If you have a solar panel on the roof for that, it just kind of makes a circle, and so it's just really a waste of energy. So right now the converter's turned off, and I do have my 120 volt Jackery charging turned off as well because I don't want that on while we're running it. Of course, we have our TV and our internet. So we turn the power on the TV. As you can see, the TV's working. And we do have our internet router that's plugged in at the same time. That's our Connect 10, which we really love this thing. It provides us with great internet. Wherever we go, it works great. And the air conditioner is running. All of our 120 volt sockets have power. We would be able to make coffee if we need to. We are able to run the microwave as well. As far as me being able to run it all at the same time, just like any situation, most people would probably turn the air conditioner off to run the microwave for a few minutes. But let's just see what happens. Let's do an express cook for 30 seconds and see if the Jackery can take it. It's running. Let's come over here and look. Wow. 2,774 watts. So it does take the punch, which is really impressive if you ask me. And as soon as that microwave kicks off, you will see the output drop. Let's see what we get. Okay, it just kicked off, and now we're back down to 1,400 watts. Here's the Jackery app on my phone. It works on Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Right now we're connected Bluetooth. The output is currently about 1476 watts, and it gives us 3.9 hours with our current load. You can turn the AC and the DC on and off. This is your screen where you can tell it how long you want the screen to time out. And here's the other 2 expansion battery packs, which are 95 and 96%. So this is also a great feature. It gives you your settings, your battery settings, your energy saving mode, where you can tell it to time out. You can update the firmware. A really cool app, and I'm really happy with it. One of the exciting things to me is when the air conditioner's on but the compressor's off, we're currently getting 43 hours of run time. So that's really great, because in a lot of situations, if you're boondocking, the air conditioner compressor is not going to be running the whole time. It does cycle on and off. Also, we do have the TV on and the internet is on, and most of the general plugs, I've got things charging and other items are on. So that's really exciting to me that we actually have 43 and a half hours of runtime. And don't forget, if the solar panels were hooked up, that number would go up even more. So really cool there. Of course, you need to have your breaker turned off for the 20 amp charger for the Jackery, because you don't want the Jackery charging the Jackery. There's a little bit of clicking and stuff going on over there, and it wasn't happy. So of course that makes total sense to me. I've got the charger turned off and the converter turned off. Now, if we wanted to run the converter, just say our battery was getting low, you can come over here, turn that on. Right now the Jackery is running all the 12 volt too. So let's see what the current voltage is on that. Air conditioner just kicked on. So right now you're pulling about 1600 watts and you got 3.8 hours of runtime because the compressor's on. If we come over here and we turn this converter off, you'll see the wattage drop down just a little bit on your output. So we did drop down from 14 to 12, so that converter is using some power. The Jackery will support it with the air conditioner on if you have your solar panel on the roof, and that was another reason why I wanted to keep my 12 volts separate to where I could turn it on and off independently from the 120 volt side. So it's all working great so far, y'all. So right now I'm using my little Jackery to charge my big Jackery. As you can see, there's your output on your 120 volt side, and it's plugged in here, and it's currently charging the Jackery. There's your input coming from the Jackery. So this gives you an option. It's a little hard on it to try to run the AC output on the big Jackery while you're charging. Sometimes it does seem to kick the breaker. Let's see what happens if we turn that on. See what we can get for our output. Let's see if it'll run the air conditioner. Remember, we have to wait for that transfer switch to kick on, which it just did. And as you can see, there's your output. So it's 187 watts over here. The air conditioner is on. I don't think the compressor's on. So here's your input coming from the small Jackery. The compressor just kicked on. It took a big hit, and it doesn't look like it's going to take it, y'all. Let's see what happens. There's your input. We are getting some input voltage at 223 watts, and your output is 248 watts. So you can charge with a smaller Jackery. It does work, but it does have a hard time sustaining the pass-through voltage while the air conditioner is on. So if your air conditioner was off, this would certainly charge it. I have done it before, and I am learning the limitations of this setup. So now what I wanted to show y'all is what we can do with a generator. So I'm gonna go outside and plug the generator into the shore power, and let's see how that works. I've got our small 4,000 watt inverter generator hooked up into the back of the camper, into the shore power, and I'm gonna go ahead and start this up. I've got it set up on propane right now because I don't want to put any gas in it. Let's go ahead and start this thing up. Well, I guess I'm out of propane. All right, let's try that again. I think this one might have some propane in it. Let's see what we get. There we go. I am using my active start. It's a soft starter for the air conditioner. It does kind of help the generator with a surge. And we can even run that on eco mode. And we're gonna go ahead and see what we're getting, what's going on inside. So now we're gonna go ahead and turn the charger on for the Jackery, which is this 20 amp breaker right here. And you heard the generator kick in, and the air conditioner is on. So right now we're pulling 24 amps, 120 volts, 60 hertz, and the generator is actually pushing 2,914 watts, so close to 3,000 watts. Now, what do we have currently going? We currently have the air conditioner going, and the generator is completely supporting the trailer on its own. The Jackery is being charged by the generator, and you can see that the current output is 0 because the transfer switch has taken over on shore power, but we are charging our Jackery. So that's just another nice feature that you can do with this thing, because you're not always going to have solar. So being able to charge this thing up, and you can see how fast it's actually charging, 1,600 watts. Here's the other two batteries over here. One's at 99 and one's at 98. So I'm really impressed with the charge speed. If we look at the Jackery app, you can see that we're 93%, and it's 1,400 watts output. That doesn't make any sense. We might need to refresh that. There we go. So we have 1,600 watts of input coming from our generator, and it's 98% charged, and we're currently not outputting at all. If I go turn the generator off, the Jackery will take over. So that's awesome. Really happy with this. So now we're going to go back there and shut the generator off, and this thing does have pass-through power. So let's see if it can take the blow. We're going to go ahead and unplug the generator and turn it off. Turn our propane off. And let's go back inside and see what's going on. Remember, that transfer switch has to take over. There it goes. So the transfer switch did its job, and let's see what we have. You're currently outputting 114 watts. So right now your output is 108 watts. I don't think the compressor's on right now, y'all. Let's see what's going on YouTube. Like I said, we do have internet that's also running off of the Jackery. Boom.
You've heard of the Everglades, right? Swamp, gators,
and there's Tanya.
mosquitoes the size of chihuahuas.
I was just showing him how our Jackery's working.
10,000 items.
As you can see, we have TV, we have internet, we have YouTube. Another thing that I've discovered is, because we have 30 amps of shore power, or a 30 amp breaker coming in, if you're trying to use your generator to charge your Jackery, which takes about 1,500 watts, that's coming out of the 30 amps of shore power, or the main breaker. So if the air conditioner's on and you're trying to charge your Jackery, it's really having a hard time with that. But I know that I could just turn the air conditioner off temporarily and charge it up pretty quick with that generator, because it does charge it. Now I wanted to try these solar panels out. These are the Jackery Solar Saga 200s. We have 2 of them. They're 200 watts each. They have magnetic catches on them, and they divide into 4 sections. The power cord plugs in right here, and Jackery does have their own cords and their own connections, so sometimes that can be a problem if you're trying to mix other panels or other cords with these, but they do sell adapters to where you can use different stuff. As I had mentioned earlier, Jackery provides some really great quality cables. These are the cables that came with the solar panels. I think they're about 10 feet long. This is the special end that plugs into the solar panel, and this would plug into the power station side. It also has this adapter on there where you can plug it into different kinds of Jackery products. So to plug it into the one that we're currently using, we need to use this one. I also purchased separately, it's an off-brand, but it's an extension cord. It's 35 feet long. So the extension cord will plug into this end and then plug into the back of our generator, because it has the same connector. So as you can see, this would go like that, and that gives us about 40 something feet of cable. I'm going to thread that through that hole that I just created and then run it outside to the solar panels so we can try this out. So there's the solar extension cords coming out from under the bed, and they're into our pass-through storage. Our pass-through storage has a hole right here in our docking station for where we bring our water hose through. So I'm able to drop these cables outside of that hole right there, and then close this door to keep everything sealed up. There's the cables coming out of the bottom of the trailer. And then of course I said I had 35 feet, so we have plenty of cable. And then that's going into the Jackery cables. And then we have our 2 solar panels out here in the sun. These solar panels have these kickstands on the back to where you can get them at the maximum angle to get the sun. There is a lot of shade at my house, but I do have them set up in the yard to where I can get some good sun on them. And on these panels, they have this little gauge right here where you can try to get them angled the perfect angle. You can see there's a black dot right here, and if you can get that shadow inside of that black dot, that's probably going to be your maximum angle. They could be also laid flat on the roof of your camper or just laid flat on the ground. They don't have to be at this angle to work. So there's our 2 solar panels, and it's currently set up. So let's go inside and see what we're getting. So our current input is 211 watts, and of course that's going to fluctuate. Now it just jumped up to 318. And then this shows you your charge time. So at this rate right here, it's going to tell you roughly how long it's going to take for you to reach 100% on your battery. And then over here, of course, is your output. The weather changed on me yesterday, and I'm not using the air conditioner like I was earlier, which is rare. But this currently shows 49 watts of output. And it currently gives us 99 hours. And I think that's just because this number won't go any higher. It doesn't have another digit there. And for some reason it is fluctuating a little bit. It could be because of this number over here that's constantly changing. It also shows you that you have your solar panels plugged in and your 2 battery packs. The battery packs are currently at 85% and 84%. And there's our current input, which is really impressive. That number is always going to fluctuate. That does help keep us charged up and at least extend our time that we could be out in the wilderness. Another thing that you can also do is you can charge with the solar panels and your AC 120 volt at the same time. So if you were on a generator and you had your solar panels, you would even get more charge times. Tanya and I are really looking forward to trying out our new setup and to see how it's working for us. Of course, it has limitations just like everything else does. But so far, I really am happy and excited of all of the new things that we're going to be able to do and the places that we're going to be able to go. So let us know what y'all are currently using for your boondocking setup, whether it's a generator or an inverter solar system or a solar generator setup like we have. We really would like to know how it's working for y'all. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who enjoys the great outdoors like we do. Thank you for watching.